I just wanted you to know.
Maybe even trying to work out patterns while I was sleeping.
That's exactly the evidence that we have now. So for things like motor skills, or even rats running around a maze where they will learn specific sort of, navigational pathways and even skilled motor movements. What you can do is you can place these electrodes into centers of the brain. We work in my sleep center works on humans, but other people have done these studies in rats. And you implant electrodes and you measure the brain cells firing as the rat is running around the maze. And let's say that you can sort of play little tones for each brain cell. So they're running around the maze and you can listen to the brain cells learning the signature of that maze. So it goes ba-ba-ba-bum-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. What was amazing is that when you let those rats sleep, but you keep listening to the brain, what you hear is brum, 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 as if the brain is actually, and in fact it is, it's replaying the exact same sequence, the memory sequence that it was learning whilst it was awake. It's replaying, but at a speed that is 20 times faster.
Whoa.
So, now we start to get into this inception world, and I don't mean to, because the scientific data, we're not sort of in that territory. But, that notion of time compression and time dilation that Christopher Nolan played so well with in that movie, we can see that at the level of brain cell firing in rats as they're learning these mazes. And it comes back to what you're saying, which is that the better that they rehearse those skilled memories, when you wake them up and test them the next day, that predicts how much better they are in terms of their performance. So it's not just that you learn, you go to sleep, and you replay and you hit the save button on these new memories. You actually sculpt out those memories and you improve them. And we've done studies with motor skill learning, critical for athletic performance. And practice does not make perfect. Practice with a night of sleep is what makes perfect, because you come back the next day and you're 20 to 30% better in terms of your skilled performance than where you were at the end of your practice session the day before.
Wow.
I mean, sleep is the greatest legal performance enhancing drug. No wonder you're getting more injury risk.
Totally makes sense. Now, as a neuroscientist, what do you attribute when people talk about visualization? And visualization is it's a huge factor in improving technical skills, specifically martial arts, which is I'm a big fan of, obviously. Martial arts, when you visualize, people who visualize, who sit down and like go over their body, going through the motions and doing things, those people perform better. They perform better. They learn quicker. What do you attribute that to? Do you think it's the same thing as what's happening when you're sleeping, just maybe to a lesser extent?
I think it's to a lesser extent, but people have done those studies where they've looked at sort of whether you actually physically practice, let's say on a keyboard, just because it's easier to sort of manage in a laboratory, versus just imagining sort of typing out that sequence. And just the act of physical visualization, of sort of imagination of that motor skill, it's about 50% as effective as physically performing it too. And it's 50% as effective, what I mean there is, in changing the plastic connections within the brain.
Whoa.
So even just visualization, passive play, as it were, still can actually cause a rewiring of the brain beneficially.
Wow. Learning techniques, specifically martial arts techniques, my good friend Eddie Bravo, who's a world-famous jiu-jitsu instructor, he's always comparing it to tying your shoe. And he said, do you know how, like, when you were a little kid and you're trying to figure out how to tie your shoe, it's an extremely difficult thing to do. You're like, how do I do this? And you put that down and you do loops. Like, I'm watching my 7-year-old daughter go through that right now. But now, as a grown man, when I tie my shoe, I could just be talking, what? Oh, yeah, we're going to go tomorrow. And I'm doing it. I don't even know what I did. If you tried to ask me to explain how I tie my shoe, I'd be like, how do I tie my shoe? Like, I don't even know how I do it, because I have it in there. And the idea with martial arts is you've got to be all of your techniques have to be automatic. Someone extends the arm, you instantly hook it and go into the arm bar. You know, you have to have these paths like so drilled in that you don't even know you're doing them until it's over.
Yeah. So automaticity is one of the things that sleep actually accomplishes. You know, I was talking about those 20 to 30% benefits in motor skill performance. So we did some additional studies to actually say, well, how does sleep do that? You know, where in your skill performance does sleep give you the benefit? So you're right, tying a shoelace, you know, even driving a car with stick, you know, at first it's just overwhelming. It's so difficult. It's clutch, it's gas pedal, you know, it's gear. And now it's just second nature. You know, it's shifted from conscious to automatic, from conscious to non-conscious. If you look at performance that is conscious and not automatic, it's usually very staccato. It's this, then it's that, then it's that. It's not fluid. If you heard someone trying to sort of play piano to begin with, it doesn't sound very fluid. You know, as someone who is a maestro, it just flows out of them. So we looked at this with motor skill performance, again, sort of like keyboard playing, musicianship. And you learn and you learn and you get better. And let's say that you type a sequence, let's say 4-1-3-2-4. And people learn it, but they have these problem points throughout the sequence. They go 4-1-3-2-4, 4-1-3-2-4, as if there's a sticking point. It's the same thing with any skilled performance in athletics. And it's the brain chunking things up. A very long motor sequence gets chunked up into small sort of digestible bites. It's a good way to begin learning, but it's not a way to create automaticity. At some point, what you have to do is stitch all of those things together and it just flows.
Like a sentence.
Like a sentence, yeah. Like a piano piece. Like, you know, a sequence of movements. If you've got, you know, in martial arts, you've got, you know.
Yeah.
So what we found was that before sleep, you've got these big problem points, these gaps in your motor skill learning. Sleep does not necessarily improve the places where you're already good. Sleep is intelligent. It goes in, finds that problem point, that friction point in your motor skill sort of deficit, and it smooths it out so you come back the next day and now it's just 4-1-3-2-4, 4-1-3-2-4, 4-1-3. It's automaticity, and it's exactly what you're describing. You know, speak to musicians, they'll say, I was playing, I just couldn't get that piece the night before, and then I came back the next day and I sat down and I could just play. Sleep's doing its work.
I just wanted you to know.